on the Times Radio app and on your smart speaker. News from every angle. Times Radio.
Let's go through the stories inside the papers in a bit more detail. Joining me to do that is Andrew Eborn, the barrister, broadcaster, Futurist, president of Octopus TV. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, Rosie. Always a delight to join you.
The Guardian have written up this white paper from the government about getting people back to work, as saying the government has pledged to ensure that no young person is left behind. Do you think they're onto the right idea by saying to young people, if you don't take up a job or employment or training, you lose some of your benefits?
Well, I have to say, rather than being a sort of stick, there should be a carrot. There's almost 1 million young people who are neither learning or earning. And that's what Liz Kendall, the Work and Pensions Secretary, told the paper. She said that's bad for them and it's bad for the country. And that's absolutely right. What we need to do is incentivise people. And so what's going to happen is teenagers are going to get skills trainings from exciting places like the Premier League, the Royal Shakespeare Company, and indeed Channel 4. No doubt Times will come in as well and offer them something as part of this government drive to get hundreds of thousands into jobs or education and make sure no young person is left behind. Like all these things, Rosie, it's how you put it in the media. I think it's a great idea. I've long advocated that we should be having apprentices and so on and so forth. Let's increase our skills base. And I have Charlie Mullins, the Pimlico plumber founder, and now doing something called WeFix on my show regularly. And he's been a long advocate of encouraging people, giving people the skills, because then they feel sort of incentivized to go out there and start earning. And I think that's got to be a much, much better system.
Yeah, we're going to be finding out exactly from that youth employment charity about what are the barriers that's stopping people, particularly young people, getting into the office. Or just the workplace in general, not the office. I mean, that's part of the problem. The Telegraph this morning has got a feature on why Elon Musk really hates Starmer's Britain. And the Times have said, they were talking about, we mentioned it quite a lot on the programme yesterday on Breakfast, this petition that got 2 million signatures of people saying they wanted another election. Elon Musk has said the British public have had enough of tyrannical police state. I mean, is that why people signed the petition? I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not sure. It started by this guy who runs apparently the cheapest pub in Britain. So well done to him. I'm looking now. It's got 2.5 million people have signed up to this petition, which is the fastest ever in history. I have the joy of having Errol Musk, who's the father of Elon, on my show every single day, and we discussed it yesterday. And he says, firstly, it's unusual that Elon's taking an interest, but he got his sense of humour from Britain, he got his sense of humour from Monty Python and so on and so forth. But his feud with Starmer has been going on since the very beginning. And it all started with, the riots and so on and so forth, and there was a clash over that, and Elon talking about being two-tier Keir on that sort of stuff. The bottom line is, I always say that trust comes in on foot and leaves on horseback. And trust in the government at the moment is at an all-time low. You've got the farmers out on strike with this inheritance tax. You've got the pensioners having the choice between eating and heating. You've got the stealth taxes, where the promise was during the campaign that they would never tax the ordinary working folk, which was quite clearly weasel words. So all of these are now backfiring. Now, as you know, the government basically, they have to reply to get 10,000 signatures. There may be a debate in Parliament if there's 100,000, but there's no obligation.
They have to consider it for debate.
People have signed.
And, well, I know, but what the Prime Minister said yesterday, he was interviewed actually on ITV's This Morning. It's always, I think, a challenge for Prime Ministers to sit on that turquoise sofa and get a very different type of interview style. And Keir Starmer said, I remind myself that very many people didn't vote Labour at the last election. I'm not surprised many of them want a rerun. This isn't how our system works. And, he's right. Millions of people didn't vote for Labour and millions of people who don't want a Labour government. So I think they are not bothered about this petition one moment at all. Let's talk about fertility, Andrew, a topic that can be really quite sensitive, painful, tricky, and for many women, and we've got the researchers on the programme shortly, women in their 30s are saying, do you know what, actually, if I want to have a baby, I don't have that much time, I'm going to do it by myself.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was looking at the stats on this. Basically, the number of single women who are having fertility treatments such as IVF are using a donor has more than tripled from 1,400 in 2012 to 4,800 10 years later. And this is a reduction in social stigma is what they're saying. But as you say, lots of women are deciding to have it alone. And on average, single women are aged about 36. when they start IVF, a year older than women in couples, according to the Human Fertilization Embryology Authority. Also, egg freezing has also increased and so on and so forth. So it's basically society sort of dictated, look, there's no stigma attached to this. Some people want to have children alone, and people are starting later.
Or it may be, Andrew, they don't want to have children alone, but they want children.
Yeah, and that's the point as well. I know, as you say, it's an incredibly sensitive topic. There's all sorts of reasons that people go down IVF route. But some people may not have found the partner in their sort of mid-30s, late 30s, and they're a bit worried about it. So some people do choose to freeze their eggs until they may find a partner. And egg freezing has also increased. There were 4,600 egg freezing cycles apparently in 2022, up from 2,600 in 2029. And an 89% of those who have their eggs frozen are single. So I think there's all sorts of things. It does reflect society. And as you say, it's an incredibly sensitive topic, but it's interesting statistics.
Yeah, I'm sure a very difficult decision to come to. On Times Radio Breakfast, they're going to speak to a lady who's done exactly that, decided to have a baby alone. And we'll find out, what maybe are the reasons behind the trends in that data. Some of this theory saying, COVID lockdowns, maybe women had a bit of time to sort of reflect on their fertility window and think, actually, if I want to do this, maybe I should do it now. Let's talk about Black Friday. I sort of absolutely despair because I know I will be tempted by the sort of endless emails that you see or the targeted advertising on Instagram. Internet shoppers, though, are suffering. This is the consumer affairs correspondent writing in The Times. An epidemic of parcel thefts with organised gangs targeting communal areas and blocks of flats to steal more efficiently. I mean, you can imagine this. You turn up Friday, Saturday, people are going to spend huge sums of money on deals. There'll be more parcels arriving. And if you open your front door and there's parcels there, well, someone might come and pinch them.
No, you're absolutely right. And people always are tempted, 20% off, 30%, 50%. Well, 100% if you didn't want the item in the first place, you can save all your money. That's terrible statistic, however, Rosie, is, look, in total a record 376.6 million worth of parcels were taken, although this is likely to seriously underestimate the scale of the problem, is what they're saying, with people not reporting the thefts to the police. But obviously Black Friday, lots of these parcels are being delivered. People might be not at home and so on and so forth. So 1 in 7 households, that's the equivalent of nearly 4 million homes, had at least one parcel stolen over the past year. And this was 568,000 higher than the previous year. So it's very worrying statistics. Again, 23 million packages go missing every year. And the Black Friday research found that the public reported less than 1 in every 300 parcels thefts to the police. So the lowering of expectations of the police to do something is also indicative in this.
Because I think you wouldn't call the police. You'd probably ring the delivery company, wouldn't you? And you say, well, it's not here, it's not arrived. And I don't know at that point, I mean, the police, are they going to be dealing with, 400 almost £1 million worth of stolen parcels? It looks like maybe this coming Black Friday, there will be more reports to police on exactly that. The final thing I wanted to ask you about, Andrew, James Marriott has written in the Times, his column today, he says, woke is waning. Was it ever more than a fad? Explain what his argument is.
Well, he basically says, and he had a look at these sort of different things about sort of celebrating trans recognition and so on and so forth. And he said that a lot of companies are no longer doing it. People have dropped their she, her pronouns on the profile. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was the Democratic Congresswoman. She's dropped that. Her, she is obviously the chocolate one. You work on that sort of basis. Transgender Day of Remembrance, writer Kathleen Stock said, went unmarked by most British institutions for the first time in years. So people were saying, like, the people of even Warner Brothers has defended J.K. Rowling as in bowling right to express her personal views. It does seem as though people are turning. Woke started off as a very good thing. It was about woke being awake and respect. It went too far. And there's a Glorious Matt cartoon today with somebody a little child dressed in a sheep uniform and the father looking at them saying, "You're in a school nativity play. Thank goodness I thought you were appearing in a Jaguar advert." So it works on that sort of basis. There's been this massive...
I don't think I can talk about the Jaguar advert anymore. I have to say, I'm sort of exhausted by people's opinions on it. Andrew, thank you so much. Andrew Eborn, the Barrister, broadcaster and Futurist, going through the papers with me today.
Across the UK, on DAB, online and on your smart speaker. This is Times Radio.